Cool. All right, guys. So today, I'm gonna go over confirmations and what I look for when I get into confirmations. One of the confirmations that I'm heavily into is swing failure patterns. Okay, so I'll briefly go into that. Um, and then the other types of confirmations I'm going to cover are uh, support resistance flips. Okay, so what happens, if you miss a trade, or you want to add to existing trades, and what you should do. So I'll go over that in a second as well. But first, I'm going to go over swing failures because these are my favorite types of plays. So yesterday, I think everyone was discussing WorldCoin. And I posted my analysis after Caleb mentioned it. I never actually looked this coin for a while. Um, so two types of plays that I usually go into are confirmations and setting limits versus with supply and demand zones. Okay, so if I were to play this from scratch, okay, we see that there is a supply zone here, right? So if I were to just set limits, it was going to be something like this with my stop loss above these highs. Okay, so this is a completely different trade than going in it versus confirmation. And then we have the confirmation of swing failures, which we're going to go back in time. So let's go to here. Okay, so we see that this is the swing high. I'm going to get it right. Okay, so for me, or I saw some analysts wanting to short this coin, and for me, I saw no short here, unless we got to that supply zone, which was here. I was setting limits there myself. Okay. We also have this order block. Okay. So that was going to be my DCA, but I was waiting for a sweep of highs, of these highs, and close below. So take the liquidity above, close below, and then short with my stop loss above the wick created, or wait for it to hit the supply zone. Now, this actually had a very, very, like the wick of this SFP was very short. So if I were to continue this, okay, so see how we had the sweep of the highs, meaning it took the liquidity above and closed below. If I continue, okay, so it closed below, right, confirming that swing failure. So if you had market shorted on the candle open, okay, you would have got yourself like a 1% move, right? But 80%, 70 to 80% of the time, if you miss the swing failure, if you place limits at previous swing high levels, it will go and retest and then dump from there, right? But so we see how the wick is like less than half a penny, right? It doesn't make sense for you to have such a tight stop loss. So if you were setting your limits there with your stop loss above the wick, right? If you're scalping this quickly, I mean, it's a 0.5% risk, but for swing traders such as myself, and like I'm not a scalper, I go in with low leverage and allow myself room for DCA. So if I were to DCA, it would have been this resistance here. I'll make that red. Okay, so I would have placed my limits if I had missed the swing failure at previous swing highs. It filled, DCA barely missed. Okay, I don't know. Alright, so there's the fill. We went a little bit higher. And then you got yourself a 5% move down. Okay, now if you had missed the swing failure, so if we were back on the 4 hour, right, I typically would have shorted on the candle open and place my stop loss above the wick, but we see that the wick is half a penny above this high, so I would have actually taken the play as such. So I would have market shorted, stop loss above resistance. Okay, my DCA would have been there. Stop loss above these wicks. Okay, DCA did not fill, but I still got a 5% move basically. Right? So that's a confirmation play. You wait for liquidity to be swept. Okay, you market short with usually your stop loss above the wick that's created. However, this wick doesn't make sense for you to place your stop loss above there. I mean, if you had on that wick down, you would have caught a nice like 1% move down if you're scalping. But me being a swing trader, I give myself that room. I'm never above 10x leverage. I always enter my entries light and DCA heavier, right? So without DCA filled, you got yourself a 5% move down, or almost a 6% move down if you placed bids at previous swing highs. Okay, so that's a type of confirmation play. You wait for swing failures to happen. Now I can show you multiple swing failures. Sorry, I'm testing this out. I just wanted to. So let's take a look at Bitcoin, for example. Okay, and swing failures can happen on low time frames and high time frames. The lower the time frame you are on, the weaker it's going to be, and that means it's going to be faster. Right, so you take profits faster. A swing failure can happen on the 1 hour, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen on the 4 hour. Okay, so if that 1 hour swing failured, then the 4 hour might not. So for example, here's a swing failure. Here's your highs. Let's get it right with a horizontal. Okay, so here's your highs, right? This took out the highs. Okay, you could have opened a market short on the next candle, and again, this wick is only like a few bucks above the swing highs. So if you open that up, you want to give yourself a little bit room. Like, you don't want to give yourself like a 0.2% risk. If you're scalping, you need more confluence as well. So you have to go on higher time frames to find those resistance points. So I would have possibly like DCA here, stop loss above. But you have the confirmation of that swing failure. Okay, so there's your confirmation. You market short, and then you caught yourself on that next open a 5% move down. Okay, so we took out the highs on a lower time frame. 1 hour SFP. Again, you missed it. Placed your limit bids at previous swing high. If it would have filled, and then dumped. Okay, so the other thing is, what if you want to add to your position, right? So let's take a different coin, for example. Let's take a look at Sol. So this is a play that I gave. It hit TP1, but let's take a look at. All right. So I have this exact setup pinned in my channel, and these are breakdown retests or SR flip fails, okay, or confirmed SR flips. So three different types of plays here. Let's actually do this. And you have your trend line drawn. This is what I had drawn. That's what I had drawn. Let's remove some of these. Okay. Alright. So first things first, you can't draw a trend line until you have 3 definite points of touch on that trend line. Okay, so depending on what time frame you use, right? So 1, 2, 3. You could draw a trend line from that point on, right? 4, 5, and typically you're going to long a trend until broken, right? So because I have 3 points to touch here, right? The next point of touch would have been here. You'd long it. You also have confluence of support, right? So you're not going to just trade something based off trend lines. You want as many confluences that you can find. So we have horizontal support, trend line support. So you're going to long with your stop loss below, support levels. So for example, if you had longed there, stop loss below, somewhere there. Okay, and then same thing here, right? This was the play that I personally took. It was a demand zone. Okay, it is an SR area. We broke out, retested it, confirmed, right? So we have 1 confluence the trend line, 2 with the horizontal support SR area, and 3 the demand zone, right? So I have 3 confluences for this trade. This would have been my setup. Okay, and then we got a 2% bounce. Okay, so again, more confluences, the better the trade setup. Now, if we have a breakdown or a breakout, you must wait. Okay, so for those that are breakout traders or breakdown traders, great. I have nothing against you. I just don't like you. So I personally wait for that retest. Okay, so I wait for the breakdown, retest to happen, and then once we have a confirmed rejection, I'm going to market short with my stop loss above the wick. So in this case, we see how we broke down here, right? Those breakdown traders are going to be like, oh, short as soon as we break down. Okay, we broke down, we wicked, we recovered the trend line, right? They were probably stopped out. Okay, I'm looking for a breakdown, close below, retest, reject. So in this case, if you had drawn your trend line a little bit more, but there's the retest. Okay, you can consider this one a retest as well. There's the retest. We closed below. I would have market shorted. Stop loss somewhere there. And then from that point on, right, I'm just going to fast forward to the end. Okay, so from that point on, even though we went a little bit higher, we never got stopped out. Max 2.6% move down. Okay, so I would have gone in light on the retest once we closed below, stop loss above the wick. I'd market short with like 15% of my allocated amount that I want to go into the trade with, right? And then if I want to add to my position, I add on the way down, never on the way up. Okay, I DC on the way up if I'm setting limit orders. So if I was like, for example, that WorldCoin, if I had set limits on this setup, right, I would have entered here and DC'd heavier. But on confirmation plays, if I'm shorting, I add on the way down. If I'm longing, I add on the way up. So if I were to add to my play, let's say I'm still in this trade, I haven't added. I took profits at levels of support, right? So you would have taken profit, on like a 1.5% move. Okay, it's a scalp. Anything under 4 hour for me is a scalp. Okay, so if I added, if I TP, the next area that I want to add in is going to be, here's the support line. Once we turn that support into resistance, I'm going to add. In that case, we broke down, retested, okay, confirmed resistance on the 2 hour. So I would have added right there, okay. But whenever you add on a short, you don't want it to be greater than the amount that you went into the trade with. Because if you do so, if your average is like, let's say here, okay, and you're going to add on the way down, you want it to be equal to or less than your initial balance. That way it brings your average to either smack down in the middle, or if you do less than your initial balance, it's going to be somewhere above here. Okay, so this is going to be your average areas. But if you had bought in more than your initial entry, so let's make these blue lines are your average entries. If you had DCA'd heavier or added more to your position than your initial entry, then your average would have been here, right? And then if this continues to go up, then you're basically break even, and if it continues to go higher, then you're in the red, right? So once you add to your position, you must also adjust your stop loss. So if this was your entry, okay, and you add it there, right, you're going to move your stop loss to possibly above these wicks here now. Okay, lower your risk from that high because you added more to your position. So you're going to lower your stop loss to about there. And now your average entry is like there, or a little bit higher, wherever it was. Okay, and you're still in profit. You just have a greater position size. Okay, so I always wait for that support resistance to be flipped before adding to my position on confirmation plays. So breakdowns, breakouts, if I got into, let's say we were doing this setup here. Let me go back to another Sol chart really quickly. Okay. So let's say this was, this is a perp chart, one sec. Okay, so let's say this was your setup. Stop loss below here, right? You filled. You have resistance here. Okay, let's say just your entry had filled, and this didn't happen, right? So let's say this was the setup. Okay, you had an entry and you had DCA over here that never filled. Okay, and this continued to go higher, right? So we have resistance here. This failed to flip it and hold. We lost it, right? So first things first, I would trim there, okay? And then I would wait until this resistance flips to support, break out, flip it, hold, okay, close above. Then I would add to my position. It would bring my average from here to just about here. Okay, I now have more of a position size. I also took profits. So let's say like we increase that. So now that my average is over here, I'm going to adjust my stop loss. Right, so if price is over here, I'm still in profit. Okay, let's say the price is over here, this flipped this resistance into support. My price is here, right? My average is here. I'm still 2.5% on leverage gains. Okay. But if you are scalping and you have taken profit on this originally, right, 3% move, right, and you move your stop loss up, you add to your position size. Just note that because we're scalping, it's under 4 hour, and this is a pretty good move for a scalp. Okay, you might want to just move your stop loss to break even, just in case. You don't want to give money back to the market, especially when we're in a chop. And we're going to be chopping the rest of the year. We're not going to have easy mode for a while. So it's better to continuously move your stop loss up either into profit when you're 2-3% moved up. Okay, unless you're swing trading, and my swing trades are taken on daily charts. Okay, so price action like this does not bother me. But if for most of those that are unable to, corral your emotions and you want to scalp on the 15 minute or the 1 hour, then you want to take quick moves or quick profits on like 1.5, 2% gains. All right, don't give money back to the market. Compound your gains. Okay, I can tell you the market's going to go further down from here. Stocks are going to roll over. I think the SPY and the ES are cooked completely. So I gave my analysis on that in my channel further up, but I did say briefly that I drew this when we were over here, right? I expect the dollar to go to 109, 110, or 110, right? So bad for risk on assets such as crypto and the equity markets, but the dollar looks too strong. We actually flipped resistance into support, so this is going to continue higher. The next resistance for me doesn't come until 107.2. Right? So if you are getting into longs, then you want to go in with reduced position sizing because I do think it's going to get pretty nasty sooner or later. Actually, sooner more than later. Do you mean long an upwards trend and short a downtrend? So you want to not fight against the trend. Okay, so if we were there was no indication to short this. 1, 2, 3, right? This was. Ow. Okay, one sec. Alright, sorry. Okay. So this is in an uptrend, clearly, right? We had the confirmation of the SFP. That was the only short for me to take. But people that were shorting over here, I don't understand why. Okay, you had this SFP short that you could have taken, clear the highs. You got a nice, move down 7% if you short in the next candle. Stop loss above the wick, but over here it makes no sense to short. It's clearly in an uptrend, right? If we break above here, we have a market structure break, right? We actually had a market structure break after we cleared here. So there was no indications of anyone trying to short this. So you don't want to fight against the trend. Okay, so if this is going to keep going up, you're going to long the trend until broken. But the more and more it touches the support or this the trend line, it's going to get weaker and weaker. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, right? What is it going to do when we get to the trend line next? You have possible confluence at the order block, right? Top of the order block. But as this continues higher and higher, or like as these 4 hours continue to progress, right? The next trend line touch might not be until here. So we have to see how the data looks at this point in time. How to determine the leverage to use. So leverage is irrelevant. It's all about position sizing. So you have to figure out how much you would lose if your stop loss hits with a certain amount of position. I'm always on 10x leverage. If you see me use anything higher, it's because I'm already in good profits and I've moved my leverage higher to allow room for other trades with more margin. But it's all about position size. Leverage is completely irrelevant. And I would suggest using some type of calculator to suggest, what your average price would be after DCA's fill if you choose DCA, and how much you would lose if your stop loss gets hit. I understand support resistance, but how do you differentiate them from supply and demand zones? Yes, so supply and demand zones, are in confluence with support and resistance. So support and resistance are your bread and butter, and you add these zones for confluence. I talk about that in my video. It's a 2-hour video. I can't go over that here. I actually went over it last week. With trend lines, do you go off full candles or sticks as well? It's wicks. So if you want to see a clear trend, go to a line bar or a line chart. Okay, so a line chart will have candle bodies, whereas candle will have wicks. Okay, I use wicks for trend lines. So for example, give me a coin and not a shit coin, please. Give me some high cap coin to take a look at besides Sol and Bitcoin. XRP works. All right, let's take a look. Okay. Okay. So there was your. This is hindsight trading. I can try to find something else, but here is the trend line. Okay, at the third point, that's when I would have drawn it. Right. There's the fourth. Now, there's the breakdown. We closed below. There's the retest point. So we actually closed below the trend line. That would have triggered my market short. Stop loss above the wick. Okay. You got a 4% move down. Right? So that there's a confirmation. So the trend line was rejected. We closed below. You open up a short. Okay. And always your entry is going to be light just in case it reclaims the trend line, and then you can cut for a loss. So if this candle reclaimed the trend line, and let's say it closed over here, right? I'm not going to wait until my stop loss hits. I'm going to close out the trade for, a very minimal loss, right? But I'm going to take it regardless. So there's my trade. Whoops. There was my short. Stop loss above wick. Now you got yourself a 2.6R trade. Okay, but now possible breakout happen. Okay, so we have resistance here. Okay, so now I'm going to wait until breakout, flip this into support, but we also have to watch out for this resistance here. So the best trade, in my opinion, is breakout, okay, retest, close above, and then you long just like we did here. So like here's the breakout, here's the retest, we closed above, that was your market long position, and you got a 3% move down, stop loss somewhere down here. Now we're waiting for that same exact setup here. Okay, I never trade breakouts, so this isn't a trade I will jump into. I wait until this resistance is flipped to support, just like it was here, for me to enter the trade. Okay, so if that happens, trade will look something like that. And you go up from there. Okay, so this hasn't happened yet. Confirmation trade waiting to happen. Otherwise, we just, long below. I think Discord's having issues because I couldn't share my screen originally, so it might just be a Discord thing. What would you say your 3 confluences are, just to reiterate for the audience listening? Okay, so The more confluences you have, the better. Okay, first you want to start with drawing your support and resistance lines. All right, so we have, I mean, I'm not going to draw it up here, doesn't make sense. The current price action is down here, right? We see that we have clear resistance here, deviation, deviation, okay, and then let's draw some support, right? It was previously support, bounced from it, deviated, reclaimed it, held it, another bounce from it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do when you open a chart is draw your support and resistance lines. All right. Now let's say we go back in time again because we'd love to. We have an order block here. Okay. So we also had it was previously support. Okay, we lost it, turned it into resistance, went up again, reclaimed it, right? Lost it, turned it into resistance. So as soon as we lose it and turn it into resistance, that area automatically becomes an SR area. Okay, support resistance area. Okay, so we break out. There's your breakout candle. There's your retest candle. Okay, so we've confirmed this resistance into support. So you could have market longed right there as your confirmation trade and made 4%, or you could have waited for this flip to happen, which it did. Okay, there's your flip. I'm going to draw this a little bit. Okay, there's your flip that happened. You could have set limits at the area. So this is an SR area. There's your first confluence. Order block is your second confluence. Okay. So I have two confluences backing this this idea up. We also know that this is just bouncing, right? So we didn't get to it nearly, but it's an uptrend, right? It was making, here's the lower low. Here is possibly a break in market structure after the resistance failed, but we made another higher low on a lower time frame on the uptrend. So this looks like it wants higher, and it was confirmed after this one. Bounce from it. So there was the trend line. So after we got this move up, right? Okay. So we filled entry, we filled DCA. Your average entry is about here. Okay, got a 2% move up. And now we have a possible bull flag. Okay, so if you're still in this trade, not only did you have the support resistance as your first confluence, the order block as your second confluence, now you have a possible third confluence with your pattern, bull flag, and then boom, right? If this breaks out, actually, if this flips this resistance into support, okay, if you didn't get your fills, this would have filled your entry and your DCA. But if you didn't get your fills, now you wait until this resistance is flipped to support. You add to your position size. Okay, it'll move your entry to about here. And then you'd have to adjust your stop loss. Actually, you can keep the stop loss the same area. It didn't increase your risk by that much. Right? So now it's just the waiting game. But we didn't get into this trade. I'm not going to get into XRP, but if this flips this resistance into support, then you would enter. But at that point on, your trade would probably look something like this then. Stop loss below support. So those are confirmation plays. Okay, a lot of people try to get into stuff right away. There's no reason to. You want to wait until you have confirmation, because from my experience, right? Oh, here's another low time frame confluence. Where's my little cup and handle? Okay, the handle is usually going to be a bull flag. So there's your cup, there's your handle. Again, we need a breakout of this, then it's confirmed, and that will give you a technical target of basically to this resistance here. So we have low time frame, cup, and handle. High time frame will always prevail. Okay, don't if you have something on low time frame, you see something on a higher time frame. For example, if you see like a low time frame bearish stance, like let's say a bear flag, but on a high time frame it looks bullish, then if you're going to short something based on low time frame chart, then it's going to have to be a scalp, because low time frame will always be stronger than like a 4 hour will always be stronger than a 1 hour. Yep. I go heavy into the difference between OBs and supply demand zones in my class. It's going to take me a while to explain. All right. I'll take a look at one more coin and see if we can see any plays, but then I gotta run. Today's gonna be a short stream from me. All right, let's take a look at Link. One sec. Okay. Nice. This filled my DCA, I think. Nice. Okay. So, first things first, I think Link wants to run. If Bitcoin can just chill, we will do so. Here's your weekly support. Here's your weekly resistance. It's just a range. Okay. Here's your daily resistance. There's your mid-range. Right. Link uptrend. Haven't lost it yet. So if we're going to short, you're going to wait until it breaks, retests, and then short. Okay. It was previously support. Well, resistance, resistance, breakdown, resistance, right? We broke down. This became an SR level after we broke down. We rejected right from the SR level. From the SR level, gave you a 4% move down. Broke out, turned it into support, okay? You had a demand zone here, actually. It's a very low one, but bounced right from the demand zone. Daily still looks okay, right? Yesterday's daily was a bullish engulfing. Still looks good. We usually go up. The daily isn't as bad, and then we come back down. As long as we flip 7.25 into support, I think we go higher. Right, so no shorts taken until we go back down, or you could take a short scalp when we get to think this actually rejected from the daily order block. Yeah. Honestly, I think this can go to $7.80 ish. If Bitcoin just chills. Right, low time frame. That's pretty bullish. Yeah, low time frame looks like it just wants to run. Let me see the Link BTC pairing. Whoops. Sorry, Caleb, I'm gonna remove these really quickly. Alright. So of this falling wedge, okay, Link BTC broke out. Now, check this out. This looks like the same pattern as ZIL. Before ZIL went for a major run. Okay. Slowly creeping up. Creeping up. Then you have downtrend, breakout, breakout, and then swift move. Okay. So for me, if Link is able to flip this Bitcoin pairing resistance here to support, huge move coming. The USDT pairing looks pretty strong still. Until this goes now, when coins or when Bitcoin's going down, okay, or showing weakness, you want to focus on coins that are outperforming Bitcoin, so they're Bitcoin pairing. This looks strong, okay, whereas everything else looks weak. Sol's terrible, but Link is the only strong coin in my opinion right now that's holding well, besides TRB, because that's not a fucking coin, it's just manipulation. But if Bitcoin decides to run, Link's going to run harder. Okay? So for me, I see no reason to short until possibly a short scalp here at the mid-range point. Or unless we turn this 7.25 into resistance again. Right, we broke down, turned into resistance. That would be your setup. So we break trend, retest not only the trend line, but this as a bearish retest point. Okay, then you have your stops with somewhere above there. I can't give you the stop placement yet. Makes sense? So we're still in an uptrend. No reason to short yet. Next possible bounce point for Link. I mean, I gave my spot play. I got in at 741. DCA filled on the dot. My average is actually, I haven't checked my average, but probably closer to here. So, for me, Link. For me, Link, I think can run up to at least 780, but I'm waiting for an expansive move to $9, hopefully. I bought Link spot yesterday. I'm in heavier because of my DCA now, so I'm in slight profits. And I bought spot, so don't buy or don't long Link. I'll keep you in my thoughts, Expo. Alright. So hopefully the confirmation made sense. Now, do me a favor with TRB. Don't touch it. Again, spot is leading. We have high negative funding. Okay, so this is going to keep short squeezing. Now this is a perp chart, but we are at the fibs right now. I think this could squeeze up to definitely take out these highs. The longer it stays negative. So for me, I'm not looking to short this. I actually don't see any. One sec. If this has a sell-off, and it usually does, like when this rallies, right? It drops hard and then it rallies again, drops hard and rallies. If this continues to rally and then drops hard, I don't know if this is the final hoorah movement for TRB, but the golden pocket is a possible entry point. I just staying away from this coin all entirely, but yeah. Do you have any thoughts on why Neil thinks this? For Bitcoin? That's what the link took me to. For Bitcoin, one sec. I'm gonna get away from chat so I can take a look at his analysis really quickly. Closure above 26.59. $26,359. Yeah, makes sense. Resistance, resistance, flip to support, right? Rejected, candles close below. It doesn't matter where the candles or how high we wick. It's where the candles close. It's clear resistance there. So yes, we do need this to flip into support to go higher. And yeah, I can see technical targets would be 27,400-ish, which would actually lead us into order block. So yep, he's right. 4-hour I wouldn't say a 4-hour closure above. I need the support resistance flip, right? So breakout candle, close above, retest. Retest must happen and close above, and then you mark it long. He has a different way to trading. I have mine. How I trade is actually posted in my channel, like the criteria for confirmation flips. It's pinned in my messages. But yes, I do agree with what he says, kind of. So before I go, my next class starts this Monday, and I have a few more spots open. I'm keeping this one very limited because I do want to take time to interact with students. So I have about 5 more spots available. After 5, I'm not accepting any more for this go around. The full message is actually linked, and I can link it again. But it'll start this Monday. We meet once or twice a week, an hour each class. It's in a different sort of my own private classroom. I have homework assignments and such, but I go over a whole or wide range of concepts catered towards beginners. So if this is something of interest, please DM me, or you can open up a ticket. But after this class, I actually don't think I'm going to have one until either after Christmas or beginning of next year. I'm going to spend the holidays with the family, so I won't be taking more classes until possibly after the year. All right, so yep, I have some testimonials that Caleb is posting, but if anyone's interested, please DM me. I do have to run here. I hope to maybe have another stream this weekend, surprise stream if I can, but I'll be in contact with you guys. I will also post this on YouTube. Thanks, everyone.